Picture a man sitting alone in his apartment late at night. His phone screen lights up with another social media post. A former classmate just bought a house. Earlier that week, someone else announced a promotion. 2 days before that, it was an engagement. And somewhere between the new homes, the career milestones, the vacations, and the smiling family photos, a quiet question has started following him around. Not loudly, not dramatically, just often enough that he can't quite ignore it anymore. Am I falling behind? It's a strange feeling because nothing is technically wrong. He pays his bills, he goes to work, he saves when he can, he's trying to do the right things. Yet somehow it feels like everyone else is moving faster. And if you've ever felt that way, you're far from alone. Because millions of people are asking themselves the exact same question. Not just people in their 20s, people in their 30s, people in their 40s, even people approaching retirement. Somewhere along the way, life starts to feel like a race. And no matter how hard you run, somebody else always seems to be further ahead. But before we answer whether you're actually behind, we need to answer something even more important. Behind compared to who? Because one of the biggest financial mistakes people make has nothing to do with investing, budgeting, retirement accounts, or debt. It starts much earlier than that. It starts with comparison, and by the end of this video, you'll understand why so many people feel financially behind, the biggest mistakes that quietly keep people stuck, and the practical steps that actually help people catch up and build wealth over time. Let's start with the first lesson. Visible success is not the same thing as wealth. Imagine two neighbors living on the same street. One drives a luxury SUV. The kitchen was recently remodeled. The backyard looks like something from a magazine. Vacations show up regularly on social media. From the outside, it looks like financial success. 3 houses down lives another family. Older cars, nothing flashy, no expensive upgrades, no luxury vacations. If you asked most people which household was wealthier, they'd probably point toward the first house without hesitation. But here's the problem. Wealth and spending often look exactly the same from the outside. You can see a car payment, you can't see an investment account, you can see a vacation, you can't see a paid-off mortgage, you can see a luxury handbag, you can't see 6 months of emergency savings, you can see spending. You usually can't see wealth. And because of that, people often compare their financial reality to somebody else's lifestyle, not their net worth, not their investments, not their actual financial position, their lifestyle. Those are very different things. That's what makes feeling behind so powerful. You're comparing yourself to information you can see while most of the information that actually matters remains invisible. And the numbers often look very different than people expect. According to a financial survey that was cited in U.S. News& and World Report, 43% of Americans don't have enough savings to pay for a $1,000 emergency. Think about that for a moment. Many of the people who appear financially comfortable on the surface may be far less financially secure than they seem. That's important because financial stability doesn't start with investing. It starts with resilience. A lot of people focus on growing wealth before they've built stability. But when every surprise becomes a financial emergency, wealth building becomes much harder. The goal isn't just accumulating money. It's creating enough financial breathing room that one unexpected expense doesn't completely derail your plans. And nowhere is this more obvious than when we look at how people quietly build wealth. Imagine two coworkers who start at the same company on the same day. Same salary, same opportunities, same annual raises. For the first few years, their financial lives look almost identical. Then something small begins to happen. The first coworker gets a raise and upgrades apartments. A few years later comes a newer car, then nicer furniture, then more subscriptions, then slightly more expensive vacations. Nothing reckless, nothing irresponsible, just normal lifestyle upgrades. The second coworker receives the same raises. But instead of spending all of the extra income, some of it quietly gets redirected. A little more into retirement accounts, a little more into investments, a little more into savings. For years, nobody notices the difference. In fact, the first coworker often looks more successful. The lifestyle is more visible, the spending is more visible, the upgrades are more visible. But eventually, something interesting happens. The second coworker's investment account begins to grow. The retirement account starts becoming substantial. The emergency fund removes financial stress, the debt shrinks, and suddenly it looks like one person pulled ahead. But they didn't pull ahead overnight. The difference was forming quietly for years. Which brings us to the second lesson. The savings rate matters more than most people realize. A lot of people assume wealth is mostly about income, and income absolutely matters. But what matters just as much is what happens after the paycheck arrives. Imagine one person earning $100,000 per year while saving 5% of their income. That's $5,000 per year moving toward their future. Now imagine another person earning $70,000 per year while saving 20%. That's $14,000 per year. Even though the second person earns significantly less money, they're directing nearly 3 times as much toward building wealth. This is one of the reasons income and wealth often move in completely different directions. Income creates opportunity. Savings rate determines how much of that opportunity you actually keep. The wealthiest looking person in the room isn't always the person earning the most. Sometimes it's the person quietly keeping more of what they earn. And this is where many people accidentally fall behind without realizing it. Not because they aren't earning enough, because their spending rises every time their income rises. Which leads us directly into lesson number 3, lifestyle inflation, the silent wealth killer. Lifestyle inflation is one of those financial problems that almost nobody plans for. Because it doesn't feel like a mistake, it feels like progress. A raise arrives. You move into a nicer apartment, another raise arrives, you upgrade the car. A few years later, income rises again, more subscriptions, more convenience, more spending. Nothing individually seems unreasonable. In fact, most of these decisions feel completely normal. That's what makes lifestyle inflation so dangerous. People often assume that earning more money will automatically solve their financial problems. But if spending rises every time income rises, wealth never gets the chance to catch up. Imagine someone earning $50,000 a year, then $60,000, then $75,000, then $90,000. From the outside, it sounds like they're making tremendous progress. But if every raise is immediately consumed by a more expensive lifestyle, the financial stress often remains surprisingly similar. More money comes in, more money goes out. And years later, they find themselves asking, why don't I feel further ahead? The answer isn't always income. Sometimes it's that lifestyle expanded at the exact same speed. This is why many wealth builders follow a simple rule. Every time income increases, part of that increase automatically goes toward the future. Not because they never enjoy their success, but because they understand something important. Future freedom needs funding. And if you don't intentionally fund it, lifestyle inflation will happily spend it for you. Which brings us to one of the most important ideas in personal finance. Most people are running the wrong race. Think about it this way. There are really 3 financial races. Most people accidentally spend their lives running one of 3 financial races. The status race focuses on looking successful. The income race focuses on earning more. But the wealth race focuses on building assets, reducing debt, and creating financial freedom. The reason this matters is simple. Status can be borrowed, income can disappear, wealth gives you options, and 20 years from now, that's usually the race people wish they had focused on. And that's why many people who appear to be winning the status race are actually losing the wealth race. Now let's talk about one of the biggest reasons some people seem to pull ahead financially: time. Imagine 2 investors. The first begins investing $300 every month at age 25. Nothing dramatic, nothing exciting, just consistency. The second waits until age 35. Realizing they're behind, they invest $600 every month, twice as much money. Most people assume the second investor eventually wins because they're investing more. But assuming a long-term average return of around 8%, the person who started earlier can still end up with hundreds of thousands of dollars more by retirement. Why? Because compounding rewards time more than intensity. The earliest dollars have decades to grow. Then those gains begin generating gains of their own. Then those gains generate even more gains. Eventually, the growth starts accelerating. This is one of the reasons wealth often looks sudden from the outside. It isn't. What you're seeing is years of invisible progress finally becoming visible. The investment account that nobody talked about. The retirement contributions nobody celebrated. The raises that were invested instead of spent. And this is where many people accidentally discourage themselves. They compare their current position to somebody else's result, not to the years of decisions that created it. It's like walking into a gym and comparing yourself to someone who's been training consistently for 15 years. You aren't seeing the beginning. You're only seeing the outcome. Money works the same way. But here's something that often gets overlooked. Saving money has limits. There are only so many subscriptions you can cancel, only so many restaurant meals you can skip, only so many expenses you can reduce. At some point, many wealth builders shift their focus toward increasing income, learning new skills, earning certifications, negotiating raises, changing careers, building side income, starting businesses. This doesn't replace saving and investing, it strengthens them. Because every additional dollar earned creates another opportunity to build wealth. The strongest financial plans usually focus on both sides of the equation, managing expenses and increasing earning power. Now let's address something important. What if you're watching this and genuinely are behind? What if you've made mistakes? Started late, accumulated debt, ignored investing for years? The first thing to understand is that being behind is a position, not a permanent identity. And positions can change. Financial planners often focus on a few simple benchmarks. Do you have 3 to 6 months of essential expenses set aside? Are you contributing enough to capture your employer's full retirement match? Are you reducing high-interest debt instead of carrying it indefinitely? Are you investing consistently each month even if the amount feels small? If the answer to most of those questions is yes, you're probably doing better than you think. If the answer is no, those areas become your roadmap, not your reason to panic. Your roadmap. The first step is stability. Build an emergency fund. Protect yourself from unexpected setbacks. After that, capture any employer retirement match available to you. Then focus on high-interest debt. Then begin investing consistently. Not perfectly, consistently. This is where many people get stuck. They spend years searching for the perfect strategy, the perfect stock, the perfect time to start. Meanwhile, the people quietly building wealth are simply contributing month after month, year after year. The truth is that wealth is usually boring while it's being built. It only becomes exciting after enough time has passed. Which brings us back to the man sitting in his apartment. The social media posts haven't changed, the promotions are still happening, the houses are still being purchased, the vacations are still being posted. But something about the question feels different now. Because maybe the real question was never, is everyone ahead of me? Maybe the better question is, am I building wealth? Because that's the scoreboard that actually matters. A person building an emergency fund is moving in the right direction. A person increasing their savings rate is moving in the right direction. A person investing consistently is moving in the right direction. A person paying down high-interest debt is moving in the right direction. A person increasing their earning power is moving in the right direction. The people who quietly build wealth rarely spend their lives trying to prove they're ahead. They're too busy building a future that eventually speaks for itself. So if you've been feeling financially behind lately, remember this. You don't need to beat your neighbors. You don't need to beat your coworkers. You don't need to beat your classmates. You only need to make decisions today that put you in a better position tomorrow. Because in personal finance, direction matters far more than position. And for most people, that's where real wealth begins.